Hey there folks, John here with Through My Lens, and today I'm coming to you with another firearms related video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the SIG Sauer Romeo Zero Elite. Now fans of Through My Lens may recall that I was an early adopter of the original Romeo Zero optic. I have it here on this kind of first gen SIG P365 XL. It was actually sent to me by SIG for review. So I had it before it was publicly available and had the opportunity to test it, and I did end up purchasing it after the review period was over. I have really tried many different SIG optics, and I have several different versions on various weapons platforms that I own because they generally are quite good, if not excellent, in many different use cases. But the general consensus was that this original Romeo Zero here was kind of a fail. The all-polymer construction, and I do mean including the polymer lens, made people nervous about the robustness of the optic. Whether that was warranted or not is another topic. We may discuss that a little bit here in a moment. And I have to admit that the control button on this optic is terrible. Trying to make brightness adjustments are really hard on this. That said, I can tell you I have a few thousand rounds on this P365 XL that I just showed you with that example of the Romeo Zero, and I have not experienced any issues. There's never been any kind of failures. So I really didn't feel compelled to run out and replace it with something else. Now about 6 months ago, SIG announced an Elite version of the Romeo Zero. They're calling it the SIG Romeo Zero Elite. You'll probably hear me refer to it as the Elite quite often in this review. And as you might expect, the Elite version offered several upgraded features and capabilities over the previous model. And in truth, this really is the version that SIG should have released to begin with. Now, followers of this channel may recall that when I did my review of this P365 XL Spectre Comp, that I indicated that I ordered the Romeo Zero Elite because I wanted it to replace the Romeo Zero on this, premium weapon platform. It took SIG nearly 6 months to fulfill my order. No explanations were given, but I'm assuming supply chain issues were, at play. So what's different here? So for starters, SIG has carbon infused what they are already calling a weapons grade polymer that's used in these optics for increased shock and drop protection. Now additionally, the Elite is a bit wider and thicker than the predecessor. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that if I kind of show them with the Elite being on the right here. You may be able to see that kind of that border is a little bit thicker. The added material on the optic should provide comparatively greater robustness. And for those who really want the ultimate in protection, the Elite also comes with a metal shroud, much like some of the other SIG optics that they manufacture. I opted not to mount the shroud, but I recognize that many who are out there will probably have a use case for it or probably just feel better about it being on their optic. So it's probably a good thing that it's included with the package. The other big change is the inclusion of a spherical glass lens that SIG claims has zero distortion. So the lens on this is actual glass as opposed to the polymer lens on the original Romeo Zero here. Now, in terms of the red dot itself, the Elite is available in two different versions. A 3 MOA dot version and a 2 MOA dot version that's surrounded by a 32 MOA circle. That's the version that I chose to order. You can also change the output on this model to be just the circle or just the dot, or combine them to be the circle dot. The original Romeo Zero was available in a 3 or a 6 MOA dot size. This one is a 3 MOA dot. I'm really not hating the circle dot combo, but I've trained and competed for years with a simple dot with no fancy stuff, just a red dot. So that's my natural preference. When I hold both guns and I look at the dots, I really can't tell any difference between the 2 MOA and the 3 MOA. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to hold it in a manner that is going to allow you to see both. It's not going to show up on video, I don't think. You know, I can tell you, I can't tell the difference between a 2 MOA and a 3 MOA dot when they're at the same brightness levels. So I personally opted for, you know, mine to be in dot only mode. And again, it looks pretty identical to the 3 MOA dot on the original Romeo Zero that I have. That dot circle combo is designed for close quarters engagements, which is perfectly acceptable on a micro-sized pistol like this, where you're probably only going to be using it at closer ranges for self-defense. Just be advised that that circle takes up quite a bit of the window and may occlude your visibility of objects at distance when you're looking through the window. Again, I think that's okay. I'm not going to be trying to attempt 50-yard headshots, with a gun this size. So, again, I've gone with the dot-only option, and I find the 2 MOA dot to be perfectly usable with little discernible difference from the 3 MOA dot. As you can see, the Elite here, it does have backup sights on it. They sit in front of the X-ray sights that are part of the Spectre comp, but they are there. Another improvement on the Romeo Zero here, the Elite version, is that there is a superluminova reference point painted on the center of the optic. So I believe you should be able to see it. Yeah, right there. You can see the dot. That provides a much improved backup sight option in low light conditions than what the original Romeo Zero provides. It does have a backup sight option in case the red dot does go down. You can use these as iron sights. They co-witness to the standard front sight on the XL, but there are no luminous dots on this. So if the red dot does fail, then you're in a low light situation, you're pretty much just using the luminous front sight here on this gun. So that's a very welcome upgrade on the new Elite. The package that the Elite comes with does also have additional screws for use with some of the optic base plates out there for compatibility purposes. Now let's talk a moment about that glass. Is the inclusion of glass over polymer in the original Romeo Zero truly an enhancement? In terms of optical performance, I think that the glass lens provides ever so slightly better sharpness or clarity than the polymer lens version of the Romeo Zero. The only way you can really see it is by doing a side-by-side comparison, and quite honestly, I sort of had to convince myself it was there. So again, if the glass, if you accept the glass provides better optical performance, it's really by the slimmest of margins, if at all. There is a blue hue to the glass. That's intentional, and it helps with contrast and makes the dot appear brighter. It's also present on the original Romeo Zero, as well as many top red dot optics like the gold standard Trijicon RMR. So is the glass version going to be more robust than the polymer? Well, SIG ain't really saying, and I certainly don't know. It actually makes more sense to me intuitively that the inverse would be true, that the polymer version would be, more shatter and damage resistant compared to glass. And I think that was kind of the original marketing pitch. Suffice to say that the optical performance of both of these optics is remarkably good. No complaints at all. What SIG does say is that they have done extensive drop testing with both the RomeoZERO and the RomeoZEro Elite, and they both survived being dropped at heights 3 times that would shatter a competing red dot optic made from glass and aluminum. So that's at least somewhat encouraging, if a little cryptic. You'd certainly like to know what optics they specifically used in their tests. The biggest improvement for me, however, in the Elite over the original RomeoZERO is that the control button, it appears to be slightly larger in diameter compared to the predecessor and is a bit more raised. The original is kind of almost recessed. Let me see if I can get these up here and I can maybe shine a light to help. Yeah, you should be able to see. See if I can get a little more light in the subject here. Hopefully you can see the button is a little bit bigger and easier to access. So again, it's much easier to use now. It's a much easier task to go up or down in brightness by using that button. Again, the way it works is you tap the button and it will change brightness either up or down. You know, it will cycle, you know, in progressive steps up. If you're traveling that way, when you get to the top brightness, then pressing the button again will drop you back down. So, you know, pressing it will go up or down the ladder depending on, you know, where you are going up or down. SIG has also incorporated their tap mode, which is their touch activated programming, that when activated allows you to simply tap on the housing to adjust the brightness of the reticle. I haven't used it because I don't need to take an extra step to get into that tap mode to do what I can do just fine with the control button. I also don't find myself putting any fingerprints on the lens, though the button is still relatively close to the lens in where its location. I think it's just easier to press with the original. I found when I would try to press it, I was really pressing and trying to get in there, and I would often touch the lens and put fingerprints on it and then have to clean it, which was a pain. So again, there's a huge improvement here from a legibility standpoint in my mind. Now, in terms of battery life, SIG claims up to 20,000 hours of battery life on a CR1632 battery. Now, that's using the dot only on low to medium brightnesses, and I keep mine at about a medium brightness level. It means it's the dot's not going to bloom, you know, if I need to use it in a low light setting, but I can still pick it up if I'm, you know, at high noon outside. You know, given that there are 8,760 hours in a normal 365 day calendar year, in theory, you can get well over 2 years of life between battery changes, particularly when you factor in the fact that the optic has SIG's MOTAC technology, or motion activated. It turns the dot off after a period of inactivity and then reactivates it when any motion is detected. I think that's good because this is a bottom-loading battery system, meaning you actually have to remove the optic entirely to change the battery, and you know then of course you really do need to re-zero it. Do I wish this optic had a top or a side-loading battery change capability? You bet. But even the Trijicon RMR CC, or conceal carry, similar, you know, size to this, is a bottom load, and it's nearly a $500 optic. The retail price on this version of the Elite is $219. Now, I paid just 131 bucks for this optic directly from SIG under the NRA instructor discount program. So if you qualify, I do recommend you check it out. You know, they also have similar programs for law enforcement, first responders, and military personnel. I imagine, comparatively speaking, the Trijicon RMR CC is probably the superior optic to this one. I say probably because I haven't used it or tested it myself, but generally speaking, I've always selected a Trijicon RMR on my primary carry platforms where where I think Trigicon probably screwed up, in my opinion, with the RMRCC, is not making it natively compatible with the Shield RMSC footprint, like the RomeoZERO and the RomeoZEro Elite are. I personally don't like using adapter plates, and doing so becomes particularly problematic with these micro-sized firearms. So I think it's great that the Elite here is compatible with the Shield RMSC footprint. I think HoloSud also makes some competing models, which people seem to really like. Again, I was pretty satisfied with how the original RomeoZERO held up, and the Elite version fixes my primary criticism, getting that control button. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm extremely pleased in the dry fire testing that I've done so far, but expect a range test to be done and published here on the Through My Lens YouTube channel within a couple of weeks. Well, there you have it. There is my tabletop look at the SIG Sauer RomeoZEro Elite red dot optic. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Take care. God bless. We'll see you in the next video.
I hope you've enjoyed this production from the Through My Lens YouTube channel. If you did, please click on the like button and do share the video on social media. If you'd like to see more content like it, please do subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and do check out Through My Lens at www.throughmylens.org.